revealing the dark truth of temptation, biblical insights you've never heard before. The moon hung low, casting eerie shadows across the ancient valley where secrets lay buried beneath centuries of dirt and sin. It was said that every time the clock struck midnight, the temptations of old would whisper through the wind, invoking long-buried fears and desires. No one would dare approach the site after twilight, fearing what the dark could bring forth. But tonight, as lightning flickered across the sky, a faint glow emerged from within the rocky hollow. A figure stepped forward, silhouetted against the unnatural light, their breath visible in the cold night air. Judith Speed walked up the hill, heart pounding like a drum. She couldn't shake the feeling that something awaited her, something both thrilling and terrifying. What would she uncover? With each step, the thought ignited a fire in her gut, feeding her curiosity. Was the rumored Book of Whispers, thought to be lost to time, hidden somewhere in the valley? Stories of powerful verses that could entice or destroy circulated among the townsfolk like wildfire. The temptation to seek its truth loomed larger than the storm above. As a gust of wind howled, Judith faltered, recalling the warning she'd overheard in the diner. "That place is cursed," an older man had mumbled, his eyes wide with fear. "Anyone who messes with the book never returns, or they come back changed." But could it be true? Could she resist the pull of ancient knowledge bursting to be rediscovered? A sudden chill wrapped around her, making her shudder. She squeezed her eyes shut for a second, her chest tight with uncertainty. What if the stories weren't just rumors? Judith steadied her breath, daring to approach the flickering light. The scent of damp earth and something sweetly rotten wafted towards her, clinging to her senses. Then, she stumbled upon an old stone altar, cracked and worn, smothered in vines and decay. An open book rested upon it, a sinister glow illuminating the pages. The ink seemed to writhe, alive with power. The words danced like flames waiting to be unleashed, begging her to read them. Could she turn back now? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Judith felt a mix of excitement and dread. In that moment, time seemed to freeze. The air crackled as the ancient words called to her, a siren's song promising knowledge but veiling inherent danger. She reached for the book, her fingers trembling. Would this be the moment she embraced temptation? Or was it the moment that would seal her fate? The dark truth was closing in, and she could feel it. The moment her fingers brushed against the cold, worn pages, a jolt of energy surged through Judith, electrifying her being. The sensation was intoxicating. She held her breath, eyes wide, trying to absorb the words that flickered like candlelight. They whispered promises too seductive to ignore. Judith knew she should stop. Something deep inside screamed at her to turn back. Yet the allure of knowledge wrapped around her like a shroud, suffocating yet exhilarating. The book didn't just hold secrets, it held power. It called to the very core of her being. What could be hidden in these lines, alone in a cursed valley? With a quick inhalation, Judith steadied herself and leaned closer. The words seemed to ripple and pulse as if alive, shadows dancing between the lines, weaving ancient mysteries into her mind. Each phrase she deciphered pulled her in deeper, unveiling stories of temptation, loss, and redemption. This wasn't just a book, it was a conduit to the past, a bridge over centuries of silence. But suddenly, a gust of wind howled through the valley, carrying a voice that brushed against her consciousness. "Foolish girl." It rustled through the leaves. Judith's heart raced as she turned to look around, eyes scanning the darkness, searching for a source. Judith. The sudden sound of her name chilled her to the bone. It was her brother, Caleb, standing at the edge of the clearing. His face was pale, eyes wide with fear. "You shouldn't be here." He took a hesitant step forward. "Caleb!" She cried out, her heart aching. "You need to see this. The book, it's amazing." Judith gestured, momentarily abandoning her sense of caution. "Don't. You don't know what you're playing with." His voice cracked, desperate and almost pleading. "The stories are true. That place changes people. You could lose yourself." Judith hesitated, the weight of his warning hanging heavy in the air. The thought of losing herself, of becoming something dark and twisted like the tales he told, flickered in her mind. But then the book beckoned again, and the temptation surged back stronger. Wasn't she brave enough to face whatever lay ahead? Lightning cracked above them, illuminating the valley in flashes. In that brief moment, she glanced down at the book. A page turned as if caught in an unseen wind, revealing a verse that glowed with ominous energy. The compelling words formed images in her mind, a sacrifice, a binding promise, an invoking chant. Her breath caught as she realized, this wasn't just historical, it was ritualistic. What had she stumbled upon? "Judith, please." Caleb's voice cut through her reverie like a knife, pulling her back. "We need to leave. Now." But something deep within her urged her to dive deeper. The duality of fear and exhilaration clashed in her chest. She could choose freedom or embrace what lay buried in the book. The conflict pierced her heart, a primal struggle none could witness but her. Before she could respond, a guttural rumble echoed from the hollow depths, shaking earth and stone. The ground quivered beneath her feet. Judith and Caleb exchanged horrified glances as the air thickened, pulsating with a malevolent energy. "Get away from it!" Caleb yelled, panic stinging his voice. Judith's pulse raced. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, but the pull of the book was relentless. What awaited her if she stayed? What darkness lurked just beyond the words? Or could there be something still unaccounted for, waiting to be unleashed? As the earth trembled ominously, Judith grasped the book tighter, an unyielding resolve forming within her. The midnight hour drew near. The choice was hers, but one thing was certain, she was far from done with this darkness. What lay ahead was just the beginning of a chaos she couldn't yet comprehend. Judith's heart thundered in her chest, the sound drowning out the world around her. The wind howled like a banshee, and thunder rolled ominously in the distance. She felt the ground pulse beneath her, each tremor a warning that she struggled to ignore. The book's power was real, and it thrummed in her hands, demanding her attention in a sinister dance that beckoned both dread and desire. "Judith! Please!" Caleb's voice quivered, urgency lacing his every word. Fear clawed at his expression, twisting it into a mask of desperation. "We have to go. Now. Before it's too late." But she couldn't let go. The book felt alive, its pages whispering secrets meant only for her. With each blink, the words unveiled more raw, visceral truths that sparked a wild fire within her. She read as fast as she could, hungry for knowledge, drunk on the possibilities. Suddenly, the weight of the air shifted. Shadows flitted at the edges of her vision. There, in the corner of the clearing, figures began to form, dark silhouettes twisting into shapes that sent chills racing down her spine. "Caleb, do you see that?" Judith's voice was barely a whisper as she pointed, her fingers trembling. Her brother's eyes darted around, wide with terror. "We need to go." "Judith, I'm serious." But silence fell, a heavy, smothering blanket suffocating the wild wind. The shapes coalesced, their features now discernible, piercing eyes glimmering like shards of ice. "We have come," a voice rumbled, deep and echoing, seeming to swell from the very earth itself. "We have waited." "What is this?" Caleb gasped, half-stepping backward. Judith felt her breath hitch in her throat. The book pulsed fiercely in her grip, urging her forward, as if the figures carried the answers she sought. "Foolish girl, the truth you seek is a burden. The shadows seemed to shift closer, their forms flickering like candle flames caught in a storm. You will understand. You will join us. A thrill surged through her, part terror, part exhilaration. Who are you? She asked, her voice wavering, betraying her fear more than she intended. We are those who were lost, who came before you. They sought knowledge and paid the price. Lightning flashed again, illuminating the clearing in an explosive burst of light. In that fleeting instant, she understood the tales Caleb warned her about were no mere stories. They were a warning. But even still, the power of what lay in the book was too tempting to resist. Judith, don't listen. Caleb's fearful shout broke through the trance-like pull of the shadows. His words grounded her for a brief moment, allowing the weight of her choices to crash down like a deluge. But a sudden scream of agony echoed in her mind, a call for help or escape, she couldn't tell. It clawed at her heart, twisting her insides with each echo. As the shadows encircled them, Judith felt the book trembling in her hands as if it were alive, begging her to embrace its capacity for chaos. Join us, they intoned, a chorus of haunting voices drifting through the darkening air. Caleb's footsteps crunched on the earth as he took a step back, a frantic look plastered across his face. We're not staying here. Judith, please. Panic seeped through his words, fueling her internal struggle. The shadows grew closer, and the tension in the air thickened, igniting a flicker of defiance deep within her. Would she turn away, cling to safety, forced to live in haunting fear of what could have been? Or would she leap into the inferno, embracing whatever twisted fates lay buried in the pages before her? The moment of choice hung heavy in the air, a shimmering thread waiting to be severed. As the shadows advanced, Judith's pulse quickened. What fate awaited if she chose to unleash the power contained within the book? In that charged atmosphere, she could sense something greater than herself waiting in the depths of the valley. What will you choose? A whisper slithered through the shadows, thick with malice and anticipation. Judith drew a sharp breath. Could she, in this pivotal moment, rewrite her destiny? Every instinct screamed at her to flee, but deep within her yearned the calling to uncover dark truths. Judith, run. Caleb pleaded, his voice hanging on the edges of despair. And then, just as she opened her mouth to speak, the valley erupted with an ominous roar, shaking the very heavens above. In that second, she knew everything was about to change. What lay ahead was a descent into chaos, but the question loomed, was she strong enough to face it? The ground trembled beneath Judith as the unseen force around her swelled, a living darkness eager to consume her. She felt an unshakable pull, a magnetic desire strongly entwined with fear, weaving a tapestry of confusion in her mind. The shadows advanced, their icy gazes urging her to unravel the secrets held tightly within the book. Judith. Caleb's voice shredded through the electric silence, raw with urgency, but it barely registered in her mind. She was no longer merely a bystander, she was a player, and the stakes were alarmingly high. What's happening? She whispered, uncertain whether the question was for Caleb or the shadows that drew ever closer. Judith, listen to me. They're not here to help you. Caleb's voice rose, nearly cracking with desperation. We need to get away from whatever this is. They'll take you if you let them. But his words, they were just noise to her. The book had opened a floodgate of potential, each line reverberating with promises and foreboding. She felt alive for the first time in years, a crackling energy firing thoughts and fantasies in her mind. Join us, the shadows murmured, their voices coiling around her like serpents. There was something almost enticing in their words, something that made her stomach flutter with both fear and exhilaration. Reality blurred around her. Was this a nightmare? Sometimes pain disguised itself as truth, inviting her in with open arms, offering solace and adventure. The shadows took on different forms: a little girl, a twisted figure of an old man. Faces of the past fought for her attention, each one a forgotten memory dredged from the dark. Judith! Caleb cried. Think rationally. Look around you. These things. The air began to crackle with energy, setting her nerves alight. She focused on the book, willing it to give her one clear answer. Each word glowed, infusing her with knowledge. She could feel its weight on her palm. It was an extension of herself, and somehow, its message transcended the darkness surrounding her. Are you ready to know? The voice of the shadows shifted, wrapping around her like a thick fog. The knowledge in this world is not without cost, yet it is yours for the taking. Judith's throat constricted. Her gut twisted in apprehension. What cost? What price was she truly willing to pay? For just a moment, clarity broke through the chaos. She remembered the quiet life she'd carved out for herself, the friends she'd lost touch with, the safety she had sacrificed. Did she really want to walk away from it all? Do not be fooled by promises, Caleb urged, edging closer, his face pale beneath the ominous sky. These shadows are hungry. They will not stop until they have your soul. The shadows surged, an overwhelming wave flooding her senses. Their laughter echoed like a choir of phantoms, closing the distance with terrifying speed. Judith felt the pulsating urgency of the book magnifying, a battle of wills raging within her. Judith! Choose love over this darkness. Caleb shouted, his frustration evident. Was he pleading for her life or his own soul? She stood at the crossroads, her heart pounding like a wild drum. The storm overhead roared, merging with the chaos inside her. Redemption or ruin loomed in every direction, and just as she clutched the book tighter, a vision struck her. In that split second, a revelation burned into her heart. She wasn't just fighting for herself, she was fighting for Caleb, fighting for the world outside this very moment, but the shadows snapped at her heels, drenching her in an intoxicating wave of power and possibility. What will you do now, little girl? Will you join us, or cast aside the secrets we offer? Just as the shadows twisted toward her, a bolt of lightning illuminated the clearing again, bright enough to reveal a figure hidden in the depths of the night, a silhouette watching, waiting. And in that unmistakable moment, Judith knew her decision would echo far beyond the valley. This wasn't just a book, it was the key to their fate or their doom. With that thought hanging in the air, a spark ignited within her, pushing aside the shadow's breath. Enough! She shouted, voice slicing through the chaos. But was she too late to choose a different path? The shadows paused, uncertainty flickering within their icy gaze as the figure stepped forward, revealing a face she couldn't quite remember, yet felt painfully familiar. Judith! It cried. You must decide. The end and the beginning are closer than you think. What truth lay hidden in the shadows, and could she fight it without losing everything? The figure moved into the flickering light, revealing a striking face etched with both wisdom and weariness. Judith squinted, heart racing as the familiar silhouette blurred the lines between past and present. Who are you? She demanded, her voice trembling but resolute. It's me, it's Grace. The woman's voice was like a soothing balm, yet layered with a tremor that made Judith uneasy. Grace, her late mother's best friend, had once been a beacon of comfort, but now, shrouded in shadow, she felt more like a ghost from another life. Why are you here? Judith gasped, the connection shocking her. Why now? Because, Judith, Grace spoke softly but firmly, you have a choice to make that will shape your world. The shadows offer tempting rewards, but what you gain may not be worth the cost. The whispers around them grew louder, a cacophony of sinister laughter merging into a single chorus. Join us, they beckoned once more, wrapped in smooth promises and dark ambitions. What do you mean, a cost? Judith replied, voice shaking. Grace's sudden presence was disarming, but the shadows, how quickly they gathered at her feet. They seemed hungrier now, eager to consume the doubt in her heart. The knowledge you crave comes with a price. You must be willing to sacrifice something dear. Grace's eyes were deep pools of tragic understanding. The shadows swirled, clawing toward Judith, their hunger palpable. Caleb stepped forward, filled with urgency. Judith, you know this isn't real. It's an illusion designed to draw you in. His expression was a blend of fear and unwavering determination. Think of the real world. Your choices matter. If you succumb, it'll be more than just you that suffers. The weight of the book in her hands pulsed like a heartbeat. Judith felt it throb, radiating promises of power and secrets she had never dared to dream of. What was buried within its pages? Mom always believed in the unseen, Judith murmured under her breath, memories flaring to life of late-night stories whispered through candlelight. Could the knowledge she unlocked bring her closer to the truth or lead to utter despair? That knowledge comes with darkness. Caleb shouted, panic rising, echoing her unsteady thoughts. Do you really want to take that risk? As the shadows wrapped closer, Judith felt their cold grasp tightening around her like chains. Memories clawed their way back, her mother's frail fingers brushing against the book, the warning in her voice that echoed long after. Judith. You can choose light over darkness. Grace urged, her voice stunning but sincere. The shadows hissed, swirling around their speaker, eager to silence her. Remember love, remember family. Don't trade your soul for fleeting power. Judith's mind spiraled, swamped by emotion and desperate notions. She felt tears prick at her eyes as the shadows loomed, taunting her with visions of grandeur and the weight of regret pressing heavily on her chest. Everything she had lost flickered before her, her childhood dreams, her relationships, and the vibrant life just out of reach. Make your choice. Came the cacophonic echo, and in that moment, Judith understood this wasn't merely about her. It was about stepping toward light or fading into the abyss. With every ounce of resolve, she held the book closer. It felt protective and warm yet sinister in its promise. I want to let them take me, she declared, her heart pounding like thunder. I choose truth. But the whispers screamed louder, drowning out her resolve. The shadows surged, an overwhelming tide, closing in. A sudden gust of wind ripped through the clearing, sending a shudder of energy coursing through her veins, and just before the shadows could envelop her entirely, the ground shook violently. Judith! Caleb cried out, fear etched on his face. This is only the beginning. If you fight them, you will awaken something far worse. Darkness folded in upon itself, tendrils of shadow grasping for her. All she could do was hold on to the flickering knowledge, praying it would guide her through the storm. As the blackness surged, she felt a pull. An urge to surrender. But amid the chaos, Judith noticed something deep in the shadows, something shifting and writhing like a lie on the verge of truth. Her heart raced. What is it hiding? A scream echoed from nowhere, and a new answer began to surface, stoking questions she had never considered. What lay beyond the darkness, trapped in the depths? Suddenly, the shadows recoiled, as if fearing the realization that dug into her core. And in that instant, she knew they were not done with her yet. Could the shadows truly be as monstrous as they seemed, or was there a deeper secret waiting to be discovered? With the storm still raging, Judith prepared for the next chapter of this haunting journey, one that blurred the boundaries between salvation and damnation. Judith's grip on the book tightened, feeling the concrete weight of her decision pressing harder than the shadows closing in on her. Her heart pounded in her ears, drowning out the frantic whispers that clawed at her resolve. She struggled to focus, pushing aside the terror that clung to her like a second skin. What are you hiding? She breathed, staring into the abyss. Fear twisted in her stomach as she fought to keep the panic at bay. But the shadows pulsed, revealing flashes of a past untold. Broken promises. Painful memories. Judith, listen to me. Grace pleaded, her voice straining against the dark tide. They're trying to manipulate you. That knowledge, those visions, they only reveal what you fear most. But fear is not the same as truth. Judith shot back, light flickering around her. Every word from Grace felt like a tether pulling her back toward light, yet the shadows insisted with their own summons. Caressing her emotions like a lover, they whispered dark fantasies of power and understanding. You're right if you think I don't know everything. I want to end this. You must be cautious, Caleb shouted, his eyes wide and pleading. They'll give you what you desire, but they'll also take everything you hold dear. In the depths of the swirling black, Judith saw something, a bright flicker amidst the yawning darkness. Was it a clue? A warning? She could barely make out a silhouette, a child. A small girl playing, laughing, blissfully unaware of the impending emptiness around her. Judith's heart seized in her chest. This was her. A ghost of herself, untouched by the burdens that now chained her. No, she whispered, tears escaping and falling into the void. Not her. I won't let you take my past, my innocence. A thunder crack ripped through the night, resonating with the intensity of her vow. The darkness quivered, and for a moment, it felt like the shadows recoiled from her truth. Judith, confront the shadows. Grace urged, stepping closer, her outline flickering like a candle in the wind. Face what you fear. Only then will the path to light become clear. The shadows surged again, their greedy tendrils curling around Judith's feet, drawing her down into depths she feared to explore. You think you can resist? You cannot change what is destined. They taunted, their sinister laughter echoing. Abandon your hope, and all your desires shall be fulfilled. Judith's breath was labored, hot and cold waves washing over her in rapid succession. I won't give in. The words fought their way out of her throat, carrying the weight of defiance. Suddenly, the shadows began to twist, forming grotesque figures, distorted likenesses of faces from her past, each one a reminder of pain, betrayal, or loss. The confrontation was unbearable, a specter of what could have been. Judith. Grace was a beacon in the storm, her steady gaze penetrating through despair. Stand tall. Remember your loved ones, remember what they've taught you. Sparks of light danced across the page of the book, illuminating symbols and glyphs Judith had missed before. Aligning with her thoughts, they seemed to pulse in response to her determination. But before she could reach for the truth within those pages, a deep rumble shook the ground. You've awakened me. A voice boomed from the shadows, low and terrifying. Now it's time to learn your true cost. Suddenly, the ground split beneath her, and Judith felt herself teetering on the precipice. Everything she had fought for seemed to dangle in a balanced truth against the seductive pull of darkness. Judith. Caleb's voice was frantic, his outstretched hand barely reaching hers. The whispers returned, more desperate now, like demons clawing at her mind. Flee, embrace us. Everything you and your mother sought is within our grasp. The shadows grew heavier, pulling at her spirit with unrelenting force, and the space around her dwindled into a singular point of chaos. What awaits Judith on the brink between two worlds? The chaos? The clarity? Or will her choice clip the threads of destiny, rippling into a future unseen? The air crackled with uncertainty. One path led to light, the other spiraled deeper into despair. And as her world spiraled, she had to decide, would she take that step into the unknown? This was only the beginning. Judith's fingers slipped against the hardbound surface of the book as the shadows writhed around her. Her pulse was a wild drumbeat in her throat, making it hard to think. Caleb's panicked voice echoed through the storm, his outstretched hand straining toward her. Judith, come back. Every syllable splintered against the crushing weight of the darkness. She shook her head, grappling with the painful memories manifesting as nightmarish apparitions at her feet. Faces emerged those she had lost, moments turned bitter with time, all reminded her of strength she had tried to forget. You are nothing without us, the shadows hissed, their breath like ice. But Judith could feel the warmth of Grace's words still tethering her to the truth. Face what you fear. With a deep breath, Judith summoned a fragment of courage. She locked eyes with the distorted image of her younger self, eyes wide with innocence. You don't have power over me. The word surprised even her. A shiver ran through the shadows, and for a moment, hesitation flickered in their depths. "Is this what you truly want?" the booming voice questioned, breaking the spell. It reverberated through the rift, shaking the very fabric of her reality. "To forget? To abandon your dreams?" Another tremor rippled through the ground, and Judith felt the fissure tearing wider, the light dimmed further. Everything she knew, everything she loved was dangling at the edge of oblivion. But where there's darkness, there's also choice. "Judith, please." Grace's voice fought to break through the malevolence surrounding them. "Remember your mother. The lessons, the love." The ground heaved, throwing her slightly off balance. Judith's mind flashed back to her mother, a fierce warrior against the shadows who had always taught her to stand strong. Every lesson came rushing back, the importance of integrity, the strength of compassion, light even in the face of despair. The shadows wailed, angry at her defiance. "You still cling to that pitiful hope? Joy is a weakness." "No." Judith shot back, her voice igniting with newfound strength. "It's my shield." Caleb was still reaching for her, desperation palpable in his eyes. "You can't let it win. You're stronger than them." With those words echoing in her heart, Judith's resolve hardened. She needed to break free of this monstrous grip. She looked down at the book again, the glyphs glimmering beneath the swirl of darkness. They whispered to her as if recognizing her will to fight back. "Judith, the truth is written," Grace urged, her hand grasping Judith's arm, pulling her back from the edge. "Use the power within you." Fingers shaking, Judith touched the symbols, gasping as light erupted from the pages. It felt like being pierced by a million suns at once. The shadows shrieked, their forms writhing in agony, frantic to erase her bond with this truth. They pushed harder, clawing for her, eager to snatch away her hard-won joy and purpose. Then it happened. A connection sparked, a flicker of understanding igniting within her. The voices subsided to a whisper, then silence. Every scar, every loss flooded her with purpose until she felt almost whole again, rooted in her story and the love that defined her. "Now," she murmured, gathering the light and focusing on the swirling mass of shadows, "I choose truth." A brilliant beam shot from the book, and with it, Judith felt her past surge powerfully through her. As the light spilled outward, the shadows screamed, overwhelmed, writhing frantically away, attempting to escape the onslaught of her awakened spirit, but just as victory felt within reach, the ground beneath her foot crumbled. A void opened, and Judith found herself teetering once more between both realms. "Judith!" Caleb's voice echoed in desperation as his hand fell through the newly formed gap, grasping for her. "Judith, make a choice." Grace urged, the urgency choking her tone. The moment hung heavy, vibrating with peril. Judith's heart raced as the light flickered around her, entrancing yet threatening in its intensity. She had to choose, let go and embrace uncertainty or dig deeper into the unknown of her past. Would she risk it all, stepping into the abyss to uncover her truth? Or could she master the chaos her past had created and land safely on the other side? The tension wrapped around her, suffocating yet electrifying. Only one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same again. Judith teetered, heart pounding in her ears like a war drum as she hung over the edge of the abyss. Uncertainty clawed at her from below, a gaping maw teeming with whispers and shadows that felt like poisonous smoke curling around her thoughts. "Let go, Judith. You have to trust." Caleb's voice strained against the roaring wind. His outstretched hand trembled, mirroring her own racing heart. But behind him, the shadows twisted and mocked, their grating laughter echoing in the darkness. With a deep breath, she felt the warmth of the light wash over her, carried by the surge of memories that flooded her. Every lesson, every moment of love her mother had shared with her chanted like a guiding hymn. It was here, deep within this swirling tempest, that Judith found her strength. "I'm not afraid," she shouted, forcing the words past the heavy dread pressing against her chest. Was it the fear of losing Caleb? Or was it the haunting images that promised pain if she chose to dive deeper into the unknown? But the truth throbbed at the core of her being, stronger than any fear, the allure of freedom glimmering like the golden glow of dawn. She could fight, she could embrace her past and emerge anew. "Make your choice, Judith," Grace's voice pierced through the chaos, laden with urgency and love. Judith clenched her jaw, the weight of the shadows pressing closer, eager to drag her down. "I stand here, no more running," Judith cried, and with that declaration, she took the leap. The moment she let go, the world around her exploded in a blinding flash. Light and shadows collided violently, and for an instant, she felt herself suspended in pure energy, as if flying through a kaleidoscopic dream. The ground disappeared beneath her feet, and she was no longer just Judith, she was every version of herself that had ever existed, every memory that had carved her spirit. Suddenly, she crashed into something solid, the impact sending shockwaves through her body. Panting, she rolled onto her back, blinking against the brightness that enveloped her. Gritting her teeth, she prepared for combat. Shadows writhed around her, clamoring in frustration, grasping to reclaim her. "You think you've won, Lightbringer?" One shadow sneered, a smirk plastered across its dark visage. "You belong to us." "No." Judith's voice rang out, her resolve solidifying into a shield. She felt the glyphs from the book swirl in her mind, their power pulsing through her like a heartbeat. "You don't define me." A shimmer of light ignited in her palms, spreading outward in a brilliant wave that burned like fire. The shadows recoiled, hissing and screeching, their forms dissipating in a cloud of darkness that scattered like ash in the wind. Judith pressed forward, clarity dawning within her. She was ready to face the core of the chaos that had tormented her for so long. But then she froze. In the distance, looming like a storm on the horizon, she saw a towering figure emerge from the shadows, a silhouette of someone she recognized. "Mother?" The word slipped from her lips, tinged with disbelief. A mixture of hope and dread twisted in her stomach as the figure moved closer, the glowing outline pulsating with an uncanny magnetism. "Judith," the voice sounded achingly familiar, yet it was laced with an otherworldly resonance that sent chills skittering down her spine. Could this be a manifestation of her deepest fears or a beacon guiding her toward healing? As the figure reached out a hand, the air crackled with promise and threat alike, raising the stakes of Judith's journey. "Come closer, and you will finally know the truth." Questions swirled in her mind like the encroaching shadows. Did she dare to accept this revelation? What lay beneath the surface of this alluring figure? The essence of choice loomed large before her, igniting a faint glimmer of hope. One way could lead to her salvation, another to her ruin. The path forward hung in the balance, each heartbeat charged with the weight of impending revelation. "Judith, what will you choose?" In that moment, an answer felt miles away, and the future teetered on the brink of explosive discovery. Judith's heart thudded like a war drum, caught between fear and yearning. The figure, glowing and yet obscured by shadows, seemed to flicker like a flame ready to be extinguished. She took a step forward, her instincts clawing at her to retreat. "Judith, please," the voice washed over her, familiarity intertwining with something more sinister. "I've waited for this moment. We can finally be together, as it was meant to be." Every word dripped with honeyed promises, yet a hollow echo of warning vibrated in her core. This was not merely a reunion, it was a test. The shadows around her pulsed, their whispers growing louder, feeding off her uncertainty. "Don't listen to it," Caleb shouted from a distance, urgency infused in his tone. "You have strength, remember? You don't belong to the darkness." His words sparked something fierce inside her. Judith turned, locking eyes with Caleb. His expression was a fortress against the chaos swirling around them, a sanctuary amidst the storm. But her mother's silhouette shimmered, it reached out, fingers stretched like petals seeking light. "You need to trust me, Judith. Let go of the past. It's safer in the shadows." Judith's breath hitched. The scent of blooming lilacs, her mother's favorite flower, filled the air, clashing with the charred odor of surrounding darkness. Memories rushed back, nights spent listening to lullabies, the warmth of hugs that made everything feel right. They were so beautiful, so powerful, but was this really her mother? Or the echo of what she had lost, manipulating her pain to drag her under? Judith. Caleb's voice pierced through the flood. Fight it. Don't you see? This isn't just about you. It's about us. He was right. Judith felt the light within her flickering, fighting against the instinct to embrace the familiar. This was not a moment of soft affection, it was a struggle against shadows that consumed not just her mother, but her as well. Fight! Judith screamed, grounding herself. I choose light. I choose myself. A blinding pulse emanated from her palms, radiating outward, pushing against the encroaching shadows. There was a sudden stillness, the world held its breath, the shadowy figure hesitated, the maternal features warping in surprise and fury. You cannot escape this, my darling. I will always be part of you. No. You're just fear, and fear is not my home. With a roar, she thrust her hands forward, unleashing the energy coursing through her, igniting the air with a brilliance that rivaled the sunlight. Ribbons of light curled through the darkness, igniting a path that cut straight through. She saw shadows recoil, screaming in anguish as they were swallowed by her brilliance. The essence of what had tormented her for so long disintegrated into nothingness, but as the darkness faded, the form of her mother shimmered, flickering like a faulty bulb. This isn't over, Judith, the voice echoed, slowly losing coherence. You'll return. We all do. The weight of the warning lingered, settling heavily in the air even as the last of the shadows disappeared. Judith stood panting, light fading from her palms but resolute. Caleb dashed to her side, concern etched into his features. Judith, are you okay? What happened? I don't know. She looked back to where the shadows had been, chills running through her veins. But I think I've only seen the beginning. They turned, facing the path before them, a swirling mass of colors and possibilities. But just as hope surged, a terrifying rumble echoed through the air like thunder in a restless sky, and then she heard it. A whisper. Judith, you have awakened something. In her gut, fear ignited. The past had shifted, twisting into something far more dangerous. Let us get out of here, Caleb urged, grabbing her hand. But in the depths of her mind, doubt lingered, a chilling presence that hinted at unfinished business. The shadows may have retreated for now, but Judith knew, the real battle was just beginning. Judith stood at the edge of the valley, her heart racing, the heaviness of the past churning within her. The shadows had faltered, but the lingering sense of threat gnawed at her resolve. Caleb, still grasping her hand, scanned the horizon, his expression torn between relief and unease. We need to leave. Now. The air hummed around them, a strange blend of clarity and chaos. But what about the figure? What if more lies ahead? Judith whispered, anxiety bubbling in her chest. Did she really understand what she had awakened? What if there were more secrets still tangled in the shadows? Caleb squeezed her hand tighter. No more finding answers tonight, please. We can't risk going back. Whatever you faced, whatever you awakened, it's not our fight. She wanted to believe him, but deep down, something undeniably vital could still be hidden behind that darkness. The fleeting image of her mother's figure clouded her thoughts, a reminder of the past she desperately sought yet wished to let go. Judith, Caleb's voice pulled her back. You're not alone. You have me. Always. The warm urgency in his eyes washed over her. She remembered everything she fought for, the battles faced, the fears tackled, and how love still clung tightly in the chaos. Judith took a deep breath, her chest swelling as she steeled her resolve. I'm done running. This isn't just about me anymore, it's about us, it always has been. The moonlight framed their silhouettes, a silver glow casting benevolence amid the tumult. With a newfound strength ignited within, she nodded, ready to face what lay beyond. Let us go, Caleb. Together, we'll confront whatever's next. As they stepped forward, the shadows clung stubbornly to the corners of the valley. Their whispered threats echoed, but Judith felt the light at her core melding with every word of empowerment she defended. The path twisted ahead, alive with the pulse of the valley's dark secrets. And then it emerged, a massive darkness twisted into a form barely recognizable, swirling like a storm of nightmares. Judith's heart clenched, yet she stepped forward, unshakable. We're not afraid of you. We choose light, knowledge, and each other. The figure twisted on itself, a mass of darkness that could almost resemble a face. Light? It boomed, laughter booming through the valley. You think light conquers darkness? We are eternal. You've only awakened the surface. Fury sparked through Judith. We hold the choice. We're more than what you see, more than the shadows you manifest. Caleb joined beside her, determination brightening his eyes. We reject the lies. Together, we will break this cycle. The shadows recoiled, fracturing beneath the intensity of their united words. Judith felt the light flare within her once more, fueled by love, the memories of her mother's laughter, the warmth of long-forgotten embraces, and the fierce bond she held with Caleb driving her forward. With a scream that echoed like thunder, she pressed forward, unleashing a torrent of brilliance from deep within, a wave of golden light that surged through the shadows, ripping apart their sinister grasp. The dark figure wailed, a cacophony of fury and fear. You cannot escape. You cannot. But Judith would not be silenced. This is our time. We will choose our fate, not the one forced upon us. The brilliance surrounded them, a lighthouse against the tumultuous storm. As the darkness began to shatter, streaks of light painted the valley, scattering the shadows into nothingness. Judith and Caleb stood tall, hearts interlinked, their love a shield against the encroaching void. With a final roar, the shadows dissolved, the valley quaking as the dark remnants faded into the depths. Silence blanketed the world, a precious stillness washing over them as they fell into each other's arms, breathless yet exhilaratingly free. We did it, Caleb breathed, wonder lacing his voice. But Judith felt a fragility still humming beneath her skin. This chapter is closed, but the story isn't over. I know there will be other battles. Caleb nudged her gently. Then we face them. Together. Always. A tender smile broke on his lips, the valley glistened under the moonlight, twisted glimmers of forgotten secrets etched into time. She felt the air shift, as if the very earth around them sighed in relief, a weight lifted, a cleansing of shadows that had once haunted, relieved, but not without a sense of foreboding. Judith knew they would never be the same, each step forward a testament to strength forged through trials. We'll find our way, no matter what, she claimed, resolve ignited within. As they ventured forward, hand in hand, the world began to bloom with possibilities. The future, once obscured by fear, blossomed into a vibrant tapestry woven with light, shadows now stripped away, allowing hope to thrive against all odds. And speaking of hope, you need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss out on the next thrilling chapter. Smash that like button to show your support and feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. I'm dying to hear your thoughts. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this resolution. Only the most passionate fans get the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let's keep this community alive.